And welcome back to Pog Productions. Here we have our final guest of the day, a renowned author here to promote a documentary called Children Full of Life. Please welcome Mr. Brandon Lamb. How are you today, Mr. Lamb?
I'm doing well, Elizabeth. Thanks for having me. I've been a really big fan of your show for years now, and might I add, you look stunning today.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb. I return the compliment, but, well, you know what they say. You do have a face for radio. What are you after with this interview?
I'm after your number, and possibly a date.
Well, I'm not used to pitying people, Mr. Lamb. Let's focus, shall we? I'm sure the people listening at home are curious about what the fuss is about. What's the deal with this documentary? Give us the scoop.
Okay, so the setting is in Minamiko Datsuno, Kanazawa Elementary School.
That's quite a mouthful.
Yeah, so it's in Kanazawa, Japan, and the teacher, Mr. Kanamori, is in charge of a grade floor classroom. Now, this guy, he is like the Albert Einstein of teachers. He's simply amazing.
How so?
Well, most teachers don't even teach. Lots of students leave school feeling like they never learned anything at all, feeling like they wasted a lot of time for a wasted education, only to leave confused and live a wasted life. Mr. Kanamori knows that this method is hung and dry, and he implements life lessons into his curriculum.
Life lessons?
Yeah, he teaches them to confront their emotions, especially the negative ones. I guess essentially turning a negative into a positive. He does this through something he calls notebook letters, in which children recall a death of a family member and writes about it and the emotional impact it had on them. They share this in front of the whole class.
That must be hard to do for children. How young are they?
Well, grade 4, so I'd say about 9 years old.
Isn't that too much for children that young?
No, not at all. See, we underestimate children so much, even though we were once children ourselves. They are a lot tougher than we give them credit for, and it's ignorant to assume that we need to shelter them from their own emotions. It's a lot easier to let these emotions out, rather than keeping them bottled in.
It's not healthy to keep it up bottled.
No. Definitely not.
Okay, so can you tell me more about these notebook letters?
Actually, yeah, I was about to anyway. They're actually the main focus of this documentary and the catalyst in which these children grow emotionally and grow closer to one another. Over time, we see the influence that these letters have on the children as they come to terms with their emotions and bond with one another through this ordeal. We see the connection that the children have with the teacher, Mr. Kanamori, and how, ironically, as the documentary progresses, the teacher becomes the student. The maturization process that these children go through with one another, and the raw emotions that are felt and expressed through this documentary captivates, charms, and compels us, as our emotions are brought forth from the inner dwellings of our heart, and we see ourselves being emotionally invested in the growth of these children and reflecting on our own past, confronting our own emotions, and making these emotions our own.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
It really is. And it really makes us reflect on our own culture and question whether or not our current curriculum is really the most effective on preparing children for the real world.
Yeah, I think we neglect the emotional aspect of growing up and only focus on the academic portion.
Precisely. Well said, Elizabeth.
Okay, Mr. Lamb, it's about time to wrap it up. Let the audience know what's next for Mr. Lamb and anything else you would like to know about the documentary.
All right. Children Full of Life is something that has many levels to it. It's similar to a Russian doll in comparison, where the more you watch the documentary, the more you uncover the layers and realize the depth and complexity of what you are truly watching. You relate to the children, feel the dynamic and emotions that they portray, and truly understand the necessity for this documentary. Check it out. You won't regret it. On a side note, check out my new book, 50 Ways to Change the World, coming to bookstores worldwide, February 15th, 2018.
Thanks again for coming, Mr. Lamb. We learned a lot.
You're very welcome. I'm still waiting for that date.
Well, I'll always encourage dreaming. And thank you guys for joining us. Tune in tomorrow morning where we continue our news coverage 8 a.m. sharp.